It's Friday evening, and that can only mean one thing: a new series picked by you, our viewers. This week, we are treated to the high downforce, high-tech craziness that is the world of Formula One, thrashing their way around a classic circuit that is Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Myself, Conor Maddock, and Cam Walsh are going to bring you the iRacing Grand Prix Series in just a couple of moments. Stay tuned. Qualifying is well underway here in the iRacing Grand Prix Series here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal, Canada. I'm Conor Maddock, that's Cam Walsh, and we're also going to be bringing you a VR lap brought to you by Ollie Kvoka around this very, very historic circuit, Cam. It's a circuit that can be used for some absolutely fantastic racing, but on the first lap it's a very short run down into turn one. We can see issues.
Yeah, it's really like a corner one, corner two, corner three section all built together, and it can get very tight very quickly. I have to say, it's a circuit I have absolutely loved, as you're about to see on board with Ollie Kvoka.
Yeah, as you're just watching, that qualifying is going on at this moment in time. Provisional pole right now is Michael Parrington in number 4, 1 minute 14.9. The closest competitor is Sebastian Dunkel, one of your two pros in this race right now. He only can manage a 1:15.2 at the moment. That's actually the best effort that he'll do. He's run out of laps to do his qualifying. While this qualifying is still going on, we'll just leave you with Ollie Kvoka for the rest of the lap around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. That was a lap on board in VR with Ollie Kvoka, and it's absolutely a fantastic piece of technology that we're able to do that right now, Cam. It really does add to the immersion of the whole iRacing service.
Yeah, I mean, sitting there in VR, it got to be, not that I would know, it's got to be a very sensational thing. We talked over him a little bit, but really he's just going over the circuit, and you can always catch his videos and all of the circuits that he'll be following along here with the VR as we're watching these cars finishing up their qualifying. 13 cars qualified, 14 listed. There's a Movano car as Massimiliano Ficara. He is now currently heading his way, at least I believe, if I'm correct, under the Dodge Bridge. Yep, towards the last double hitch there, and he'll get underway. I almost think he went off track there as he'll come across the line to put in his qualifying lap. That'll put him, nope, nowhere. So, yeah, you'll have 13 full qualifiers, Connery, and a very fast Massimiliano Ficara not qualifying.
Yeah, he did have those 2 attempts at putting down a qualifying lap, but they were both invalid because if you even get any sort of incident around the lap as you're doing the lap, 0x or 1x going off track or whatever, then that lap is counted as invalid, as all of your qualifiers have put in their qualifying laps, at least valid ones. Here's a grid. Pole position will go to Michael Parrington with a 1:14.9. Lining up next to him on the front row will be Sebastian Dunkel, Mark A. Warmington, and Manu Domingo on the row behind them. Ryan Perkins lines up 5th place, and Javier Alvarez lines up 6th. Calistrani, Lathuris 7th and 8th. Gertoy and Bakan lining up on the 9th and 10th grid positions as it stands. Dennis Branch, Nathan Parkinson, Andy DeRuta, and Massimiliano Ficara. Well, he's going to be the last car on your grid, and we have a little bit of a while your car's grid here, Cam. It's a very, very short run to the first corner, as I said, and well, it can cause a little bit of congestion as we're just waiting for just one car to line up on the grid.
Yeah, and once these cars do get on the grid, which I believe is Michael Parrington, they will actually sort of skip over the typical warm-up period and they will get right on away. So everything is just waiting on Michael Parrington. There he goes. He's ready to rock and roll. We're ready to start our Grand Prix.
Yes, we are, as the drivers just wait very, very patiently for those red lights to come up and then for extinguish to get this race started. But well, it's not too long now. We're still missing De Ruyter. Yeah. We're still missing De Ruyter. They're wondering if he's just going to start from pit lane. Maybe he has not taken to the grid just yet. He's okay, well, going to be lining up in that 13th place, but he still has time to get onto this grid. But well, we still have about 20 seconds before race start if he cannot make the grid. But very surprising pole position sitter right here, Michael Parrington. Haven't really seen or heard about him, but he's managed to get that McLaren MP430 onto pole position. As the engines will rev now, red lights are up and they extinguish, and we're going to go green flag racing here in Montreal. Good start by all of your front runners is battling further back, almost 3 wide coming. We are going to go 3 wide coming down into the first corner. A little bit of bumping and banging of wheels in your mid pack, and oh, there's a major incident coming down into turn number 2. Multiple cars involved, and like I said, it was a mess on the race start.
And not only that, but Manu Domingo and Javier Alvarez, 2 teammates, ended up clipping each other, and that also involved Ryan Parkins. So already a little bit of a mix-up there, some front wing damage between 3 or 4 of these cars, but your front pack seems to get away. Partington, he's coming away quite nicely in that number 4 car, as he's currently pursued by Dunkel, Warmington, and then Domingo. So that's a bit of a troubling start there. Very difficult first section, as we were alluding to.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can get a replay of that race start. 3 wide for what would be the 5th position, coming down to there. Ryan Perkins, Javier Alvarez, and Matteo Calistani. And yeah, some major damage to a couple of cars in this field. It looks like 4 front wings broken in that incident alone, Cam.
Yeah, and it's especially when you've got your teammates. You know, you're starting to set this all up. You want to get together with your teammates so you can possibly draft in on people. As we are seeing the replay of the start, you can see those lime green and dark blue team cars getting collected with one another. But right now, outside of that, Manu Domingo, even with that little bit of rear end contact, he is running in third position. And I'm actually a bit surprised. This really didn't separate the grid as much as I thought it would. And I think that's just partly how Montreal goes. It is a bit difficult to chase people away. Ryan Parkins, he's going to get a new front wing. And as well as Maurice Bracon, he's parked off for the end of the day. So I believe that number 8 car is done for the rest of the day. But we still got a good run up front as Michael Partington, he is checking out from Sebastian Dunkel.
Yep, he really is as he heads his way through the final hairpin here at Montreal. Just missed the apex just a little bit, but he already has enough of a buffer to that second place of Sebastian Dunkel. It's around about 2.1 seconds on the relative timings on this lap alone as they storm their way down towards the final chicane. Very, very tight chicane, very heavy braking zone, and careful to miss that wall of champions there on the outside as they're going to come across the line to complete lap number 1 of 46. Michael Partington makes that gap 2 seconds coming across the line.
Yeah, and just like that, he's obviously using all of the little tidbits on that 700-plus horsepower hybrid Formula One car. That's, of course, the McLaren MP4-30, and it is obviously the tippity top of road racing here. And that's why we're probably going to be able to see these guys really flexing their muscle in not only car control, but their control over the course of this 46-lap race, simply because, sure, Partington is pulling away quite overhandedly over Sebastian Dunkel, but perhaps he's saving, Dunkel is saving his tires or not really pushing with the harvesting systems or the ERS systems just yet. But, of course, when they do get in range, they will have DRS, won't they?
Yep, they will, and we just have to wait for just another lap before that comes into effect. And for Sebastian Dunkel to even get the opportunity to use it, he has to be within 1 second of Michael Partington during the DRS activation point. So if he can catch up to within that 1 second, he has a fantastic opportunity to make a DRS pass either on the back straight or on this, well, a little bit shorter front straight, but he's just not there right now. Michael Partington, 16.6 last time by, 1 minute 16.6. Dunkel only managed a 1 minute 16.9, and you have to remember, Michael Partington's there's a sort of safety rating system here in iRacing that gives you licenses depending on how safe you are and other factors. Michael Partington, only a B license. Sebastian Dunkel, he's one of our pros. That's how well Michael Partington is doing right now.
Yeah, that car fairly well put together, and normally these cars, when you get to this tippity top of the spear as far as iRacing service goes, of course, with the licensing system working your way up, you know, you probably on the road started as we're looking now the fight for position number 5. This is a trail of 3 cars. It's Warmington, Calistani, and Ficarra. Ficarra, I mean, it should be no surprise that Massimiliano Ficarra has pushed his way through, but what is a surprise is his front wing's damaged as they work their way towards the final chicane. But you work your way through, perhaps starting with the MX-5 Miata, which is provided, and then work your way up through the road ranks to say the Pro Mazda, the Formula Renault, the IndyCar, and then up here to the spear that is the McLaren MP4-30, and he's a B class, which is really, I mean, as far as road racing goes, it's more sports car territory. So for him to be up here slugging it out with these guys means that he is obviously very well prepared.
Yeah, he's putting, well, 6 or 7 tenths of a second on Sebastian Dunkel right now, which is really an impressive thing to do for, I'll be honest here, someone I haven't really heard of before in these cars. So he may be one to watch. If he puts his foot down and continues these cars for the rest of the season, maybe we'll be seeing him get picked up by a larger team and then maybe going for, well, the WCS series next year. We'll just have to wait and see. But this battle for P4, 5, and 6 is still raging on between Warmington, Calistani, and Massimiliano Ficarra. Ficarra, remember, started last place on the grid for this race. He's already up to 6, and there's a net gain of 8 positions. And as you said, I don't think it's entirely surprising from our second pro driver in the field.
No, and of course that is a part of the Movano racing team, the Thrustmaster Movano, of course. I can tell simply by looking at the paint scheme. Love the dark black and the red striped across that McLaren as he is hunting down Matteo Calistani. He's going to be trying to defend on the inside. It's the Italian versus Italian as they are working their way through this first section. Look at how close Massimiliano is able to close right on in through that braking section. And also, another thing that I absolutely love about the power of iRacing is that obviously these guys, all of the stats, all the races are nice, kept tidy, and very easily looked up. I ended up looking through a bit of Michael Partington's racing history. Very, very popular in the Formula Renault 2.0. He's worked his way up. Last couple of weeks, he's managed to rack up quite a couple of wins in that Formula Renault 2.0. No surprise, he's in the cars here doing well.
Yeah, but I'm just looking at his paint scheme, actually. It doesn't look like a team of, well, a paint scheme from any of the major teams, but it has some sponsors on it that the major teams do, like Fanatec and VRS. So, well, maybe he'll be picked up by a bigger team in the not-too-distant future if he isn't already, as this battle between P4, 5, and 6, they're just going to head their way through, well, they're just gone past the hairpin. They're on their way down the back straight. DRS wide open for both Calestrani and Ficarra. They're just going to close up the gap. Here comes Ficarra. Will he make a brave move coming down the inside of the final chicane? No, he won't. He will just back out of that one, but he's going to look towards the left-hand side now. Both of these cars, remember, have DRS, so this is equal, and they're both harvesting the DRS coming down into the braking zone. That's just going to cut their tops, well, their straight line speed just a little bit, but that was the number 2 of Massimiliano Ficarra making his way through on Calestrani.
That should be no surprise. He's halfway through the field, that number 2 car, which of course here in the official races, that means that he is the second highest I rating in the entirety of the field. Sebastian Dunkel carrying that number 1 means that he is the tippity top as far as the I rating system goes, which is a fairly decent, I have to say, probably the best of the 100 ways you could try to organize some sort of ladder system. This I rating, everyone that finishes in the top half takes away from the bottom half, and there's many other rules that obviously influence and affect that. And as Andy de Ruyter and Jean-Mos Garot are also fighting, both of them, well, actually just Garot seems to be carrying wing damage as they're working their way towards that oh-so-historical hairpin.
Yep, looking at Garot's lap times, in fact, he did a 1 minute 18.8. Last time by de Ruyter did a 1 minute 18.5. So de Ruyter is pulling away slightly from Jamal Mascarot here. But that may be due to the front wing damage that Garot has sustained, likely during that first corner incident that we had between multiple cars as the number 4 of Michael Barton. He's just setting some blistering lap times right now. Anything from a tenth to a couple of tenths faster than Sebastian Dunkel, and that is really, really impressive. Gap stands at around about 2.7 seconds right now. Looking back at the battle between, now it's going to be between Warmington and Ficarra. This is for P4, remember. Ficarra starting on the back of the grid, making his way through the field, and well, this is really a test of Mark Warmington's defensive capabilities here.
Yeah, this is a driver for Blue Flag Racing, Mark Warmington, and obviously he's just pushing right on through now. They're going into the hairpin, and following this is corner number 11. Way on the inside is that Movano Racing. They're going to be working their way up through the straight right now towards corner 13 and 14. It's known officially as Quebec Wall. I call it the chicane. Some people call it the Wall of Champions. They're going to go side by side here. There's your DRS flap. That is the power of the DRS as they go through the chicane. Nice and easy. Warmington, no defense. He could a lot there, as that is going to put Massimiliano Ficarra into the second position after that very bad qualifying, where he probably had the fast laps, but he just kept going off track. Manu Domingo and Sebastian Dunkel, and then Michael Partington is all that lies before Massimiliano Ficarra, and we'll see. He does have plenty of time here. We're only on lap 9 of 46, so he's got plenty of time to work that way up.
Yes, he has. And something I noticed while we were watching that pass is Mark Warmington's ERS system was harvesting way, way before the braking zone for the final chicane. And that is just shown by the flashing red light on the back of these cars. Usually in real life, they're also used for, well, for visibility during any sort of weather. But for here, we just use it for the ERS harvesting, and that just alerts the drivers behind that this car is harvesting energy. It is likely to be slower than you expected, and Marky Wilmington's car was doing that much more, well, quite a distance before the braking zone, much more than Fakara's car was, and that was just giving Fakara the extra top, well, the extra straight line speed to make that pass complete.
Yeah, absolutely, and then of course the DRS finishes it all off. It's great to see such a properly fitted system, I'd have to say, to this service. It's been around now, this car. Oh, geez, I'd have to say it's been a while. Is the car of Javier Alvarez and I believe that is Evan Lathros are heading right into corners number 1, 2, and 3, as that is exactly it. So, of course, I believe, I don't quite know what team off the top of my head that green and blue paint scheme is. It's very vibrant, but I think it might be, no, I thought it might have been an Orion car, but it is indeed not. So my livery detection abilities are quite limited when it comes to these formula cars. Give me in a sports car, I can tell you who's who, but either way, though, they're working their way right under the bridge right now, halfway through this essentially street circuit.
Yes, it is, and it's basically on the island in the middle of, well, it's basically a river or lake in here in Montreal, in Quebec, Canada, as Evan Lathros getting very close to the back of Javier Alvarez, but not able to make the move coming down into the hairpin. But he'll have DRS and the slipstream on this back straight. Just look at that gap just close up right now. This seems inevitable, heading down onto the brakes, coming into the final chicane. As actually Alvarez was going to be heading into the pits that time, and that is one of the dangers. If Lathros was actually backed out of that move and fouled in right behind, he could find himself going straight into the back of that car that was heading their way down into the pit lane.
Yeah, Alvarez, their last second decision to get that car pulled in here. Now, I'm not sure. This is only lap 10 as he's pulling his way through the pit lane right now. He does have a little bit of damage on his right side. They're going to lift up the front. They're going to lift up the rear. And let's see what they could do, perhaps damage-wise. He's thinking that the damage is too much. Nope, he'll just get his tires and move along. It's a bit weird to be getting tires on lap 11 of a 46-lap event. I would presume that it would at least be a one-stopper. I mean, just looking at someone like Michael Partington's, excuse me, lap times, he's not fallen off at all. So I don't think it's the tires, so perhaps he just needed get a little bit of damage repaired.
Yeah, I believe there was a change of front wing for that number 5 car. Basically the left end plate of the front wing was damaged when he was heading his way down pit road, but they managed to get that changed during the pit stop. So a fresh front wing for the driver of the number 5. He still has the car of Ryan Parkins ahead of him. Of course, Parkins getting involved in that 3-wide situation coming down into turn 1 on the first lap. Well, he sustained some fairly major damage for that one, but he's back out on track right now, still with a damaged front wing. That's certainly going to be affecting his lap times in such an aero-sensitive car as this one, as Javier Alvarez will probably make short work of this one once he gets in DRS range, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely, and we have a very lively chat as well. Hello, welcome to you guys. Thanks for taking us along on your Friday evening or afternoon, depending. And as just these cars, they seem to close up so quickly. I wasn't expecting perhaps the DRS to be influencing that much, but obviously with that many, when you open up that flap, it just allows so much more air to go through it. But it doesn't surprise me that that front wing with all of those wing elements are absolutely destroying quite a few of these guys' races. Because, man, they're quite heavily damaged. When these guys do come into pit, I do expect at the very least 1 pit stop, maybe even 2, that they would be getting a new front wing, and very understandably so. These cars, so aero-dependent, Connery. Any Formula car, regardless, even the Skip Barber 2.0 car, which is essentially you could run the thing without aero. That even has a front aero and a bit of a rear spoiler, but that, obviously, that thing tops out at maybe 120. And if that is dependent on aero as well, I can only imagine what these McLarens are doing.
Yeah, I think we also might be seeing a no-stop strategy as well, because I'm just looking at the lap times. We're about 12 laps in, so we're about a quarter of the way into this race. And, well, Michael Parrington has only dropped a couple of tenths of a second on his best lap time, so he may be looking, maybe one of the ones looking to go all the way. Maybe all of your drivers will be looking to go all the way with 0 stops during the course of this race. The gap at the front, though, is coming down. Sebastian Dunkel is reeling that gap in bit by bit. Gap is down to 2.7 seconds. It did hit 3 seconds as they went across the line last time by. So maybe Sebastian Dunkel is a little bit better at conserving his tires than Michael Parrington.
Yeah, a little bit, and it's just a little bit of push here, a little bit of push there. I'm also looking at Dunkel's times. He seems to be very consistent as well. Only about 2 tenths off of his fastest lap, a 1:16.6 is the marker for Dunkel. And just looking at that Dunkel piloted car, he seems to be fairly in control of the car. It's just a matter of he's not really having the lap times that are too close to Parrington's. I think Parrington's, he had something go wrong that last lap. It was a 17.3, so perhaps he's abusing just slightly. But even when he was off by almost what, 0.6 of a second, he gave to Sebastian Dunkel. They are barely in eyesight. That just goes to show you how hard Michael Partington pushed at the start of this race. Maybe perhaps it's coming back and he's got to take it easy a little bit and see what his tires do when they cool back down.
Yeah, we can just see he's kind of starting to reply as Michael Parrington right now. Last time by across the line, it was a 2.5 second gap. Relative right now, it's up to 2.8 seconds. So, well, Michael Parrington has replied to that very fast lap from Sebastian Dunkel. Fastest lap right now is Sebastian Dunkel with a 1:16.6. So, well, he's going to need more fast lap times like that to be anywhere close to Michael Parrington come the end of this race.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, anything can happen here. One single slip-up, one touch of the grass with your car, especially when you've got wide slicks like this, and you could easily end your day. I mean, Montreal has been a historic track, Connery, of ending, even the strongest and fastest Formula One drivers, and really any driver between any of the series that race here. I mean, heck, they've even run NASCAR stock cars here, which is always put on a great show. Still wish they came here, but obviously the Formula One cars blow them out of the water. But any issue that you have here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is going to be an issue, and I only really know this myself from the personal aspect, because I, of course, used to race in the Lotus 79 series, the classic Grand Prix, the classic Lotus Grand Prix, whatever the official name of it is. But even those cars, highly dependent on aero, very, very difficult here at Montreal. I can't imagine going, 10 seconds faster a lap in these McLarens.
Yeah, there's this battle between the 12 and the 13. Dennis Branch versus Evan Lathuris. Lathuris will get the DRS coming down the back straight. He's well within that 1 second requirement. As again, Dennis Branch is going to harvest the ERS early, and Lathuris is just going to head his way down the inside. Easy done it. Very easy DRS pass, and you also get the DRS on this pit straight as well, because there is only one detection point over the course of this lap, so he's able to stretch out that gap even more. But Dennis Branch is not going to let him get away from him too much. Just follows really close to the back of that rear wing, to the back of that gearbox of Evan Lathuris, coming through the first couple of turns, but he's just starting to drop back behind just a little bit. I think his main weakness right now is on the straights and coming out the corners. Evan Lathuris just seems to get a lot better traction coming out of the corners, and has the overall top straight line speed as well.
Wouldn't surprise me very much at all if Dennis Branch is able to use his DRS by the time they get to the hairpin and they start working their way towards that the double kink, or whatever we want to call it, the wall of champions, exit, whichever, because Lathuris is dealing with a massive amount of aero with that issue. His fastest lap of the entire race has been a 1:17.6, and this has really probably been because of the amount of pressure that Dennis Branch, that number 12 car, is pushing on. Now let's just see here, amazing exit from Evan Lathuris. He might have been able to pull a second gap before the DRS clicker, and obviously we need to see here, oh no, his DRS flap is open. Let's watch as Dennis Branch, we'll see how much he can close in, Connery, before the turn.
Yeah, he's not going to close in enough to make his way down the inside during the last chicane, but if he can get a good exit here, he may challenge coming down into turn 1. But just look at the amount of pace that Evan Lathuris has off of the corners, just able to get that traction down much more effectively. That V6 Turbo, sorry, just really putting the power down coming out of the corner, just stretching that gap. Every single corner exit is perfect from Lathuris at the moment.
Yeah, he is absolutely on it, as that last lap was a 1:18.3, which obviously isn't holding a candle to your front runners, but that's not what he's looking for here. I think he's just looking for a good day here in the car, especially recovery, with dealing with that front wing element issue, as his lap time still faster than Dennis Branch, who is dealing with a completely put-together racing car. Everything seems to be fair and fit on that Blue Flag Racing McLaren, so right now Evan is outpacing that number 12 car of Dennis Branch just on raw speed. And for the second time, we'll see that that DRS flap of Dennis's open up here, and no, he's too far back actually. Evan was able to get a better exit off the hairpin, so now Dennis doesn't even get the DRS. Very impressive from Evan Lathuris.
Yeah, Lathuris managing to break that 1 second barrier. That means that the number 12 driver does not get the DRS coming down the back straight. Just looking at what is going to be the closing battle for the final spot on the podium. This is going to be Manu Domingo just defending from Massimiliano Ficarra. And Ficarra is absolutely flying at this stage in the race. Well, not really that time by. He was only half a tenth faster than Manu Domingo that time by. But over the course of this race, he just has been closing bit by bit. And he may be able to challenge for third place in the, well, maybe the next couple of laps if he can get within that 1 second barrier that the DRS has to be activated in. I'm just going to look back towards the front of your field. That gap is now up to 4.5 seconds. It was 4 seconds last time by. Michael Barrington has already made up a, half a second over the course of this lap alone. So Barrington's absolutely flying at the front of the field, doing his best Martin Kroenke impression, Cam.
No, he's certainly trying, and especially in a car that is effectively teamless, as I'm still desperately looking around. I think that's a PSR car. That car of Manu Domingo, I believe that is a positive sim racing car. It takes a while to find the logos. It is, oh, like you knew the entire time, Hugo. He probably was just dogging me on just to see how badly I could guess. Oh, we read it on the chat. All right, well, fine then. You're forgiven. But I love the starkness of those colors, as it's actually a very good battle right now. If Ficarra is able to push onto Manu Domingo, looking at their lap times, they're only split by 0.3 of a second. But really, if you go back and forth, Ficarra does have a faster average lap time, but when you've got the position as Domingo has, he can really control this. I think if he's effective and gets a good exit off the hairpin, as long as he keeps Ficarra off the DRS range, and even if he does, he can take the inside line going into the chicane. I think Domingo's in a fair position here, so the race is going to be on for that third position.
Yeah, definitely as they head their way out of the hairpin. Will Massimiliano Ficarra get the DRS this time by? They're just going to be heading their way across the DRS activation marker. There is the DRS open for Massimiliano Ficarra, so he's definitely within that 1 second mark that he has to be to get to make use of that particular technology, but he's not going to be close enough to make a move coming down into turn 1. He'll still get the benefit of DRS coming down this straight. That's going to help his lap times by quite a bit, just allows him to catch onto the back of the gearbox of Manu Domingo. And yeah, that livery is certainly something to behold, as actually Andy de Ruyter has just lost the position to Jalma Scarote, just coming down the back straight, I believe. And I think well, de Ruyter was very, very slow coming down the back straight. I'm not entirely sure what the issue was there. Did he get a wheel spin coming out to the hairpin? A little bit, but well, that has all the signs of a slowdown penalty right there, but I don't see where he might have gotten it from.
Oh, you know what? I'm pretty sure I must. Well, either that or Garot just got so much better of a thing. Perhaps he missed a gear. I'll look through the previous chicane with Andy de Ruyter, and no, I don't see any issues with that as all. So really, Andy just got a bad exit. Perhaps he was dancing with that gas pedal. Once you lose traction in this car, it kind of takes a moment to really get through it when you're trying to power up through the gears. And that no-nonsense racing number 11 of Andy de Ruyter goes down one position, and that's impressive to see these cars driving with this front wing damage. I mean, Garot, he started in 9th. He's going to be in 9th now, but he fell back quite a bit, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And again, looking at the drivers' lap times compared to their best lap times, there's again de Ruyter having major issues getting off of the hairpin right there. Does he have an issue with the car? Is he not getting the full power out of that car? Is his pedals sticking or something like that? Not giving him the full 100% throttle that he needs coming out of that turn? We'll just have to, well, that's one we'll just have to wonder until he can confirm it after the race, perhaps. But not a good thing to happen to Andy de Ruyter right now. He's down so much in the straight line that he's basically not competitive at this moment in time.
No, not at all, and that's unfortunate. Things can certainly happen with the cars. Perhaps a setting. He might have misplaced a setting on his steering wheel or his gearbox. Typically, when you get up to the series by now, you have a full fit wheel, and then you've got either a button box or a gear shifter on your side that comes with that wheel that allows you to program additional things, and you certainly need that extra programming. Perhaps he's got a purpose-built button box that is, of course, USB plugged in as well to allow him to control all the settings that you need to manage, and perhaps he is mistaken one of those as the battle between Manu Domingo and Massimiliano Ficarra is on. I almost want to see if we can go on board with Ficarra, and we'll see if he can pursue that Domingo car, but this is getting close, Connery.
I think this may be a good a time as any to bring you a RaceSpotTV fan immersion from the perspective of that Thrustmaster Movano driver, Massimiliano Ficarra. That was our classic RaceSpotTV fan immersion from the perspective of Ficarra. He's just not able to lock onto the back and pass that car of Manu Domingo, the positive sim racing car, just for the moment. He's getting very, very close to being able to do it, though, as they head through what would be the second to last chicane here at Montreal, storming their way down towards the braking zone for the hairpin. Very, very heavy braking zone. You can just see Ficarra just closing up that gap during the course of it. He will have DRS coming down the back straight, but again, there's Manu Domingo getting a very good exit coming off the hairpin. That's what he needs to do to negate any effect that the DRS will be having, any benefit that Ficarra will be getting from it, as that, again, that rear wing flap is wide open coming down into the final chicane. But again, not going to be close enough to make a move, maybe coming down into turn 1, but nope, Manu Domingo again getting a fantastic exit cam.
Yeah, this is a great battle between these two cars, a duel in the purest of sense as they go through 1 and 2 and head their way towards 3 underneath what I believe it's a Napa Bridge. Yes, it is, or PC de Alto, as I'm presuming it's called in Canadian. Well, it would be French, wouldn't it? But as Manu Domingo, he seems to be putting on a very good defense. As Massimiliano Ficarra, he is able to catch throughout this whole section here, from about corner 3 all the way to the chicane, he is able to catch, but he just doesn't seem to get the launch. Perhaps the suspensions are set up just a little bit different in how they react under acceleration. Of course, here being on the iRacing sim, these cars being fully, and I too mean fully engineered to the fullest, as it almost looks like Massimiliano Ficarra seems to have spaced back a little bit. Perhaps he's hoping for a bite here as a little bit of wheel spin from Manu Domingo. I don't think he's going to do it.
Yeah, there's an absolutely immense amount of torque coming from these McLaren MP430s and the V6 turbos that reside within them. But Ficarra, again, with the benefit of DRS and the slipstream, just closing up to the back of Domingo. But again, Domingo with that classic very good exit, but he's not as far in front as he was last time. This is an opportunity for Ficarra, but again, not going to be close enough as he looks for a gap coming down towards the inside of turn number 1, but doesn't manage to get it. And I was just coming back to the point there. These V6 turbos are so torquey that if you get a good exit, it can really just launch you off the corner like a rocket ship.
And if I'm remembering correctly, these guys don't really run with like any kind of traction control or analog brakes, if I'm recalling correctly, right?
No, they do not.
Oh, see, there you go. So I had an inkling. The thing is that these cars change so often from year to year to keep the formula so fresh and continuing the battles that I tend to lose track of it. Modern day formula cars. But either way, though, Domingo, I mean, he's just showing very good car control as he's just doing good on the accelerator. And I see that time he didn't lose the rear at all. Now watch how far he got ahead of Massimiliano. And I have to say, when I found myself in these situations, of course, the Lotus 79, the Formula One championship winning car from 1978, obviously very high downforce, big engine in the back, but still very much so downforce dependent as Domingo. Now he's going to have a battle perhaps on the outside. Nope. Perhaps on the inside. Nope. Oh, that wing element gets so darn close. I found it is extraordinarily difficult if you can't get the power down off the exit of that hairpin to pass, and I just don't see that Movano McLaren getting that power down.
Yeah, exactly. That was his best opportunity, of the race so far, coming down into turn 1 as he heads his way down the inside of the first chicane here. And that is Ficarra up into P3. Just a little bit of a slight mistake from Manu Domingo, just outbraking himself perhaps, not able to make the apex of the corner. Ficarra really smelled blood during that situation, just dove it down the inside, and it turns out it was a very easy pass for Frans Movano on Positive Sim Racing.
Yeah, I almost want to see if we can get just a replay of that. It had been building up so often. I was not surprised to see Ficarra get on by, but to just see how he had just leaned to the inside. It almost looked like perhaps Domingo had a braking issue or something. Or you know what? I think he saw the Movano car go to the inside, so he left the door open. He had plenty of space to close that door, but he chose just to leave it open, and now Domingo is going to be the one in pursuit. He is going to be at the start-finish line just about 1 second. So we'll now see how Domingo attacks Massimiliano Ficarra, or if Ficarra, now free, can pull away.
Yeah, we also have to remember that Domingo is now going to have to be dealing with the dirty air caused by the complex wing elements of that McLaren MP430 in front of him from Massimiliano Ficarra. But if he can keep within that 1 second gap that he needs to activate the DRS as he gets the wheel spin coming out of there, that's not really going to help him. I think this is going to put him outside of that 1 second requirement unless he gets a monster of a second chicane right here, but it's looking very unlikely right now. He's right on the tail end of being 1 second behind Ficarra right now, but we just saw during that fight Domingo can get an absolutely brilliant exit off of these slow speed corners, and he'll have to do that again if he wants to be anywhere near Ficarra during the next few laps. And Ficarra just has to take this opportunity to pull away at this stage, trying to break away from that 1 second gap, as actually that DRS is in fact open for Manu Domingo, so he was within 1 second that time by, and that might just be the lifeline he needs.
Absolutely, and so that means he's going to be able to get it through going down the front stretch here at all. But just looking at the speed differences, right before they get to deceleration here, it's about 183 for the car of Massimiliano Ficarra, and it was about 182. So even with DRS open, that Domingo car was going so much slower. I think that means very understandably that Massimiliano Ficarra and Nat Bavano car very low trimmed out compared to that Domingo Positive Sim Racing car.
Yep, and this is in fact your closest battle as it stands on track right now. We've just gone over the halfway point during this race, so I think all of your drivers have decided to go for the no-stop strategy to get themselves towards the end of this race. And this seems like a good time as any to say that on, well, Saturday afternoon European time, it is the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, brought to you by Will Vincent and Johnny Simone. That will be broadcast here on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive Saturday afternoon. But don't forget, before that, we have the support races, the Sim Cup and the Porsches as well. They're going to be heading their way around the track that is Montreal right now, just to give you a little bit of a shot of excitement before the World Championship Grand Prix Series race.
Yeah, talk about excitement. I mean, you start your day with the Sim Cup, which is the Formula Renault 2.0 cars that our current leader, Michael Partington, normally finds himself in. This is actually the first race I've seen him in a McLaren in his recent history of races. So very good effort from that Michael Partington effort. But yeah, you'll get the Formula Renault 2.0 cars. They'll warm the track up. They'll get it all set up. You'll see who's climbing up the ladder, which of course it is a very lively ladder. Thousands upon thousands of drivers working their way up to the pinnacle of road racing in as far as open wheel goes, which is of course our Racing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Then we get out the fun cars, the Porsche 911 GT3s. Of course, not GT3 spec cars, but your Porsches. Oh, we saw the race at Interlagos. I have to say that was absolutely sensational. The battling that I got to do, which I got to commentate on, I guess I should say, was sensational. And then of course you've got VLN and Dirt all coming. So Saturday, a very busy day. Of course, unfortunately, I can't really join in the VLN action anymore. It is on Saturdays, and I'm not much of a Saturday afternoon availator, whatever word that is. But 8 o'clock tomorrow night Eastern, which is, I have no idea in not Eastern. It is going to be our very first Dirt special, Connery, and Dirt Racing released this week. Obviously, it's a bit weird to be talking about it over the lovely sounds of the McLaren, but it is something that does need to be noted.
Yeah, I think I'd race it a bit more, especially in sprint cars, if I could make more than 2 laps. I think that's the case there.
Well, see, that's the fun of the aerodynamics, because I'm plowing away at the sprint cars. The 360 engine is the one that I'm preferring. You know, those guys actually use aerodynamics almost just as much as these McLarens. They throw it into the corner. That's why you see them flip to the side. They've got that huge wing element at the top. They force the car into the dirt with an especially wide rear wheel tire, as we're watching. Well, right now I'm watching the battle between the 12 car and the 13 car, Dennis Branch and Evan Lathraus. And actually, this is fairly interesting. I think we missed at some point a pass from Dennis Branch, because if I recall, Dennis Branch was behind Evan Lathraus.
Yep, he was, and that was due to just a couple of laps ago during the final chicane. As actually the Thoris is going to head his way down the inside very late, coming into the hairpin turn, but well, Branch is going to get a much better exit here, but then it's going to be negated by the fact that Evan Thoris will have the DRS coming down into the final chicane, as Dennis Branch again harvesting the ERS very, very early. Evan Thoris just had to dive out of the way, as he's now going to, well, lead that particular battle through the final chicane past the wall of champions. And well, I was just about to say the reason why Dennis Branch was ahead at this point in time, even though we did see the Thoris pass them a couple of laps ago, was because Aaron Thoris had a little bit of half spin coming through, well, not the final chicane, but the penultimate chicane on the lap here at Montreal.
Wow, and that's pretty impressive that Evan Lathraus is able to recover that and pull his McLaren back and past, as that car is able to snake right back up. And this is, of course, this is a Redback Racing McLaren. Redback Racing, not a team I personally am familiar with, but being the sports car person, you know, your slower sports cars, your GT3 teams, you know, Neo type, dirt racing type person I'm not too familiar with them. But once you start getting in McLaren, these teams are very well built, and you really start to see just how hard these teams are pushing. So Evan Latherhouse, even with that wounded McLaren, he seems to be pulling it very good. We're already on lap 31 of 46, so we're already past halfway, Connery, and I'm quite surprised as looking right now the battle between Jalmas Garot and Nathan Parkinson.
Yeah, I was just about to mention it. This battle has been closing up over the course of a couple of laps. Nathan Parkinson will now, we suspect, have the benefit of DRS. Yep, that flap was wide open coming down the back straight. So the Apex Academy driver trying to chase down Jalmas Garot right now at this moment in time. You have to remember, though, Garot has got fairly major front wing damage. You just see all that front wing is all crumpled on the driver's right-hand side of the car. That is not going to be helping him at all. He'll suffer a catastrophic loss of downforce, especially through the medium-speed corners, and you can just see the result of that right now. Nathan Parkinson just able to close the gap coming through there. He has completely clean front wing on the front of that McLaren, so I think there's an air of inevitability about this unless Garot can put up an amazing defensive fight, but I just don't think it's likely.
Well, just looking at the lap times, lap 29 for Jalmas Garot was a 1:18.2. Obviously not a barnstormer when it comes to looking to the front pointy end of the field, but for both of these cars, that's pretty close as far as lap times go. The fastest that Parkinson has been around in his Apex, is that an Apex Academy or an Apex Racing? I think it is just a straight up Apex Racing. Of course, the green is Apex Racing and the blue then is Apex Academy. But the Garot car, with that front wing damage, is just able to hold it off. It just seems that the downforce, you've either got people that are running super slim, which seems to be Garot, and then you've got a lot of downforce like that Parkinson car, because Parkinson, he's not able to catch up in the DRS zones when it should be easy.
Yeah, especially when you're within that 1 second mark for the DRS. So Nathan Parkinson just has to make up all of his time in the corners, especially due to the damage that Jalmas has to his front wing. And this is the kind of sections that he will, close up that gap. Coming through the corners on the straights, you just see Garot just pulls away just a little bit with the, what we suspect is a slightly lower downforce setup than Nathan Parkinson, but again, more corners to come. Nathan Parkinson's just going to close right back up during them. So, well, it's a little bit of a, some points of the track, one is better than the other.
Yeah, and I think that this is, Montreal is always that track that kind of really tests your setups here, because both setups are really the correct one, which is what I love about tracks like this. You know, everyone always points to something like Suzuka. It's a purpose-built test track, they say. I always love to bring my setups here to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It doesn't test every type of car or setup, but it really pushes the high downforce, low downforce, because it's 13 corners, and you've got chicanes, and you've got that long straight that is split by that chicane. So that, of course, always brings great battling and great different setups, different engineering ideologies. And of course, once you start talking about different downforce angles, you start introducing all sorts of new suspension geometries, new suspension ideals, different weights, different rebounds, and then once you start messing with the suspension, your tires pressures all change, the hot pressures, the cold pressures. I love it. This is a track that I absolutely love, simply because you can play with those setups. As we're seeing Nathan Parkinson, he's really close now through the chicane. He should get a better exit off the chicane, which he does, but you just see Garot just pull away a little bit before they go into the hairpin, though. I think Parkinson's close enough.
Yeah, I think he is as well, as they head down onto the brakes coming into their hairpin. Parkinson, if he stays close enough right now, he can maybe have an opportunity of it coming down into the final chicane, but you just saw Garot get a very good exit coming off that corner, able to pull out that gap by a couple of tenths of a second on the exit of the corner, and here comes Parkinson with the power of DRS. Maybe having a look down the inside. Oh, he's going to get very close, locks up the front brakes coming down into the final chicane. Then it's going to put him behind at least a couple of seconds right there. I think he was caught in two minds whether to make that move or not, and then ended up doing neither of them, and then lost out as a result.
hesitation absolutely killed him there. And I think what also happened is his car was set up perhaps to harvest a little bit more than he was anticipating. So when he got down onto the brakes, he was expecting like a full braking. And really what ended up happening is he had to lock it up, as we saw the onboard there, in order to keep it off of the rear end of Garot. And I wouldn't, the lap times don't seem to have fallen too far off to come in for a new set of tires. But when you botch the corner like that, well, you know what? There's no way he would be able to make it up. So I would say that nobody would be coming in at this point with so few laps left in the race. But if there were more laps in the race, if I were to have pooched it that bad, because that's what we call it, at least here stateside, I would have came in for new tires. But you know what? Parkinson, though, he's got to be careful, because Ryan Parkins is now in DRS range.
Yes, he is well, maybe not quite in DRS range. We'll see as they come across the DRS activation point, and note that rear wing of Ryan Perkins stays firmly shut. And well, if Nathan Parkinson makes any more mistakes like the one he made coming down to the final chicane, then he may have Ryan Perkins may have an opportunity to gain himself one more spot and to secure himself into the top 10. As you quite rightly mentioned there, Cam 1.3 seconds back when it came towards the DRS activation point. So that is definitely not going to be enough for Ryan Perkins to gain the benefit of that technology. But if he can string a couple of good laps together here, he may be within that 1 second gap before we know it. As Nathan Parkinson again, he tries to catch up, tries to chase the back of Girotage, maybe to have one more try of it come the end of this race.
Yeah, certainly. And if Parkinson, I think he's got time to catch Garot, and I think Parkins has time to catch Parkinson.
Ooh.
Oh, that's going to be an interesting battle to call, as I think somebody got massively loose. That was Parkinson, as Parkins is able to get a good exit. So we were just saying there just how close they can come off of this hairpin. I'm not sure. We'll see if that DRS flap opens up on the McLaren of Ryan Parkins. Nope. So it must have. Oh, no, it is open. So, okay, so Parkins is going to be able to catch in, going over 200 miles an hour. Is Parkins heading towards the corner? Oh, look at how much he's able to close right in behind the rear of Nathan Parkinson.
Yeah, and another good exit here can set himself up for the first corner, but no, he's just going to harvest the ARS on the straight. You just see the, well, if you can get a rear view, there was a red blinking light on the back of Ryan Parkins' car for basically the whole duration of the secondary pit straight right there, whereas Nathan Parkinson was deploying full power at that point in the lap as well. But that hasn't really caused Ryan Parkins to drop back here. It just meant that he wasn't able to make the move like he perhaps wanted to, coming down into turn number 1 as Nathan Parkinson. Wow, massive entry oversteer right there. This is going to give the opportunity to Ryan Parkins around the outside for the final part of that chicane, and that is the pass complete. A couple of mistakes settling in for Nathan Parkinson means he's just lost a spot.
Yeah, but he did hold on to that car going into those corners. That was very impressive. That it was so easy with no downforce on it for that car to have just spun out. But either way, is Parkins, I think, almost lost it going through the hairpin. But for Parkinson, perhaps he had overdone his tires. And I see a leading car in the back distance, a very bright blue with those stark white stripes, number 4. Michael Partington, he's going to have to come through. He's got plenty of time left in this race, just about 9 laps to go. So he is definitely going to be lapping these guys. That is going to be another element here to see just where they go. Nathan Parkinson, his DRS flap is open. But just looking at it, 182 going into corner number 1 compared to 187. So even with DRS, just a 5-mile-an-hour difference.
Yep, as we have around about, we're going to have 8 laps to go as Michael Parkinson just heads his way through the first sector of the lap. Right now, he'll disrupt this battle that we have for P10 and P9, in fact, because Ryan Perkins is not too far off the back of Joel Mastrote. But, well, and yeah, in terms of lap time, he's about 0.2 of a second quicker is Ryan Parkins than John Mastrote at that time by. So, well, if Ryan Parkins can put in some blistering laps, maybe he'll have an opportunity of it to gain even one more position come the end of the race and secure himself into P9 instead of P10. But, well, we'll have to see what happens when Michael Partington comes up to lap these guys. And, well, maybe, well, these Formula 1 drivers, they don't really have all that much experience in traffic compared to, say, multi-class drivers. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of this.
Well, it shouldn't be too difficult for me. I think in Formula Renault 2.0, the races seem to maybe be just long enough. I think they're maybe 35-minute runs to where, at least on the smaller circuits, leaders will have to pass other cars. And of course, when you start going into what would be considered the lower tiers, the skill set widens exponentially. Some cars maybe are only a second off the lap here. I mean, when you look at qualifying here, it was from outside of the 114 that Michael Partington did. It was a 115 all the way to a 116, pretty much the entire field. So that just goes to show you how close these guys are, but you start getting the Formula Renault, some cars 3, 4, 5 seconds off the lap. But he should make it fairly straightforward and simple, but it is interesting to note, though, it's just one mistake from Jean Moscarote, and Parkins is going to be on him, and one mistake from Parkins, and Parkinson is going to be on him. So these three cars buttoning up very nicely to finish out our Grand Prix here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, we kind of have a nice similarity in terms of the names here. We have a Ryan Parkins and a Nathan Parkinson. So, well, that's certainly a very interesting thing to happen during the course of this race. It's a very small world. But Michael Parkinson's Partington. So is Parkinson, is Parkinson, is Parkins, is Parkinson, and is Partington. Oh my God, my brain is just... And
there's also actually, a Warmington, really.
Yeah. And, well, actually, Nathan Parkinson has to, well, go across the final chicane right there just to let Michael Partington through. I'm getting so confused, Cam, help.
Well, I think what's happened is that it's starting to become pretty clear to me that Nathan is not very comfortable going into that chicane too wide. Partington was expecting, well, he was expecting to pass, really, on the outside, or well, trying to push to the inside. He was fully expecting to have that. He started harvesting early, and he was expecting the car to kind of let him by. And then Parkinson just kind of hesitated again, just almost like he did when he was trying to make the pass, because he didn't know what the leader wanted to do. He wanted to see if the leader would tuck up behind him or make the pass that he kind of ran out of braking room. And once he ran out of braking room, well, the corner was right there, so it's better to just run right through it. But meanwhile, though, looking to Jean Moscarote, it looks like that front wing damage is starting to collect him, Connery, is Ryan Parkins closing in this very closing stint.
Yeah, we can just see that DRS wide open for Ryan Parkins as he makes his way around the driver's right-hand side of Joel Moscarote, and that was easy done it, and that is going to put Ryan Parkins up into P9, which is the exact same, well, exact same as his car number, so he can't be too disappointed with that finish. Of course, iRacing, when it does these splits, it ranks the drivers from number 1 to, well, whatever the maximum amount of cars in that field is by iRacing. So Sebastian Dunkel in that number 1 car is the highest rated driver, as there's side-by-side someone on the track, Cam.
It was Jean Moscarote. Sorry, I was just a little bit delayed as far as my pictures were going, which is pretty telling for me because Parkins is now in front of Garote. So I missed the pass somewhere.
Well, luckily enough, I was lit enough to commentate on it.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So they were, okay, so you were, while you were talking, I was reading the chat, I suppose, and saying hi to the 181 watchers that we have out there. Thanks for making RaceSpotTV part of your day. But yeah, that was fairly straightforward, that wing damage, really. I was surprised at how long he had managed to last before getting past, but you know what? That's going to happen to you.
Yeah, exactly. As someone who's going very, very fast out on track right now is that number 2 of Massimiliano Ficarra. He's not going to have enough time going towards the end of this race to close what seems like an insurmountable gap of around about 7 seconds to Sebastian Dunkel. But he's setting very fast lap times indeed. He's setting lap times 1/10 of a second faster than your current leader in Michael Parkinson. Speaking of Parkinson, though, that gap between him and Sebastian Dunkel, second place, is sitting at around about 17.3 seconds at this moment in time. And Parkinson, he's just absolutely just monstering all of these corners, and he's basically, like I said earlier on in this race, doing his best Martin Kroenke impression, which you might see on Saturday.
Yeah, very most certainly, as we can hear Zoe the Race Spot Dog in the background, but for a moment after 53 minutes of running, I think it's fair to say that she at least likes to make a little bit of an appearance. But either way, for Partington, this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is extraordinarily impressive. I don't know where he's getting the speed or whom he's worked with to set up that McLaren. having to Betsy's if he did it, if that is his personal setup, not even based off of somebody else's, perhaps using that VRS to his abilities, the virtual racing school, because Sebastian Dunkel, who almost has an additional, 3,000 additional iRating, which is a substantial amount. Let's not kid ourselves here. My iRating after being here for 4 years is sitting about 1,600, and Partington's about 3,800, and Sebastian Dunkel's about 7,000, and he's really running the show here. Perhaps the weather might be working very good for that Partington car, and maybe Dunkel's setup is more akin to the weather that they're expecting for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. But 17 seconds over the Grand Prix, that is nothing short but impressive.
Yep, it really is. And again, at number 4, Michael Partington, if he wants to, and he has this sort of pace at other tracks, not just Montreal, then, well, he has a decent shot at getting into the World Championship Grand Prix Series next year if he so chooses. Of course, he needs to get to an A license first to be able to compete in the Pro Series, and then if he does well in the Pro Series, then he will gain entry to the World Championship Grand Prix Series. That will be happening this Saturday afternoon in European time. And don't forget the RaceSpot Race Day events before that as well, where the Formula Renaults and the Porsches will be racing around this very same racetrack that we're racing on right now. We are lap 44 out of lap 46, Cam, and the battles have pretty much all fizzled out right now. I think it's just a little bit of a coast to the end now.
Oh, no worries with that. As you know what, while we're doing this, let's see if we can we'll just go on board just for a second with Partington, and I guess I'll just look at how he is attacking this circuit. I mean, he takes 3 and 4, so very good, through Pont de la Concorde, and then he goes into 6 and 7 here. He managed to hang it wide. He just takes little bits of the curbings here and there. It's just so impressive what that Partington car is able to do. As he's pushing through, seems to have a good blend of speed, doing 185 before braking under and going under the bridge before hitting the next couple of chicanes. But either way, just talking of the ladder as we watch him finish out this lap, I mean, it's a tall ladder, Connery. Let's make no joke of it. It's, you know, there are about maybe 2,000-3,000 drivers that are actively working their way up through the ranks, trying to get the iRating to get into the top splits, which is an essential part of gaining more iRating and more, obviously, more safety rating, but more, I don't want to say notoriety, but more visual, being more visual in the eyes of the big Goliaths of sim racing, and you start working your way up through there. It is a tall ladder, but when you've got good performances like this, it makes it seem a little bit easier. The gap is now 18.1 seconds after 46 laps.
Yeah, I think Sebastian Dunkel and Massimiliano Ficarra have to be just a little bit worried that they're, well, this far behind at the end of a race, behind Michael Partington, and a, well, B-class driver. So we don't really expect that from B-class drivers, but, well, here it is happening right now. We are on the final lap for your drivers at this moment in time. Michael Partington is just heading his way through the second Montreal chicane right here. He's going to head his way down into the braking zone for the final hairpin, and it has been an absolutely dominant display of Martin Kroenke-esque, as I have said before, for Michael Partington, just putting over 20 seconds between himself and the pro driver of Sebastian Dunkel, as he only has one chicane to go before he can say he's a champion in the iRacing Grand Prix Series. There's the wall of champions. Don't hit that, and he'll power out of the corner, and it's going to be Michael Partington is going to be taking the race win here at Montreal.
An outstanding effort from Michael Partington. We've been talking all day, that car doesn't have a livery. Well, it should be getting one pretty soon if he keeps putting performances on like that. All this talking I've been able to do with Sebastian Dunkel is just starting to cross the finish line. There he goes now. That is how long of a gap. After 47 laps of running here, he has been able to perform. Sebastian Dunkel will come home in third. What an effort from Massimiliano Ficarra. I think a couple of more laps he would have closed on Sebastian Dunkel and would have challenged for the lead, but obviously qualifying ruining his day. Meno Domingo just crossing the line now.
Yep, couple of drivers still out on track and just coming towards the line. Mark Warmington is going to pick up that 5th spot as he heads his way across the line. Matteo Calestrani is going to head his way through the final chicane as well, and he will pick up the 6th position. The Thuris is actually not too far behind him right there, but he's not going to be able to challenge for the 6th place position as they come across the line. The only 2 cars out on track right now that are still racing, Dennis Branch, Ryan Perkins, and they are, Ryan Parkins, sorry, and they're just not anywhere near each other right now. Well, that is the end of your race right there. It's actually a decent race considering that we only had 14 cars out on track, but well, we'll just go through your official race results right now. Winning this race in the iRacing Grand Prix Series is going to be Michael Parrington, an absolutely dominant display, and he takes home the checkers with about a 20-second gap, well, 19.7-second gap to Sebastian Dunkel, who ends up in that 2nd place. It's going to be Massimiliano Ficara in that 3rd place, picking up the final spot on the podium, and Manu Domingo just missing out, and he's going to finish in that 4th place. Mark Warmington is going to finish in the 5th place, and Matteo Calestrani relatively close, just a couple of seconds behind. He's going to finish in 6th place, as Evan Lathuris, very close to the back of the gearbox of Matteo Calestrani. He's just going to have to settle for 7th, ahead of Dennis Branch, though, who was battling throughout most of the race. Dennis Branch is going to finish 8th, Ryan Parkins 9th, Grote 1 lap down, first car lap down in 10th place, Nathan Parkinson 11th. Javier Alvarez 12th, Andy de Ruyter in 13th, and Maurice Beckhahn, a victim of, well, the first lap incident. He's going to finish in the final place here at Montreal. And as I was saying, Cam, it was a fantastic race, even though we had so few cars on track.
Yeah, pretty surprised there. You know, you only had 44 cars. We did have a retirement right off the bat. That was Maurice Bracon. Yeah, I mean, to have 9 cars on the lead lap, I mean, that does go to show you just how strong this field is. Normally, when you get cars like this in an official series, they splatter all over the place as far as lap times. But really, no, putting in a lot of effort here. 9 cars finishing on the lead lap. That is a good day in any series, no matter how many cars you have. And I have to say, it was some fairly good running, some good duels also from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and it was interesting to see just how different people were setting up their McLarens to fight.
Yeah, exactly. It was actually 14 cars, not 44 cars. I don't think Cam has recovered from his 44
laps
9-hour.
Not 44 cars. He was 44 laps down.
I had 44 cars, and I was thinking you hadn't recovered from your 9-hour stint in the Neo Le Mans series, but
no nonsense.
Well, there we go. That is that race done. But over the course of the weekend, it's going to be more racing action here on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive. It's going to be RaceSpot Race Day on Saturday. The RaceSpot Formula Renault Sim Cup first at 11:40 a.m. GMT. Then it's the RaceSpot Super Cup after that, and then it is the main highlight of the weekend, the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Join Will Vincent and Johnny Simone for that one as Martin Cronke, Bono Huiz, and so many others battle it out at, well, the track here in Canada. Also during the weekend, we have a VLN Endurance Championship as well. Paul Matthews, Swift, Ronald Chow, Francisco Scaramuza, Alvin Nieves Rosario, and Jake Sperry will be taking you through that one. We also have our first ever dirt race that we're going to be broadcasting here on RaceSpotTV. It's the Eldora Spring Classic. And Cam, you're going to be on the commentary team for that one. Randy Cheneth as well. That's going to be 11:50 p.m. GMT. Convert that to whatever time zone you want. And then to finish off the week, we have the Indy Elite Series. Will Vincent, Paul Jenkins, and Aaron Likens will be taking you through that one at Phoenix. Well, this has been the race here in Canada. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And we'll see you guys for whatever series you pick next week. Voting is just going to go up in a couple of days in the iRacing General Discussion Forum. I've been Connery Maddock, that has been Cam Walsh, and this has been the iRacing Grand Prix Series from Canada. See you later.